Part 1. The Move. The decision for the Al-Salem family to move was not an easy one, but it was their only choice. Their old apartment had become too small and life too heavy. Salem, the father, worked endlessly to provide for his family. Amina, the mother, believed that no house could harm those who remembered God. They had 3 children: Yusuf, the eldest, Lion, 11 years old, and Heba, the youngest. The new house stood on the outskirts of the city, old, silent, surrounded by dead trees. Its windows looked like dark eyes watching anyone who came near. From the moment Lion stepped inside, a cold shiver ran through her body. That first night, she woke up to the sound of soft footsteps. On the wall, she saw a long shadow, a shadow without a body. She whispered, "It's just a dream." But when she opened her eyes again, the shadow was closer. She screamed. Amina rushed in, reciting verses until the shadow vanished. But fear stayed. Nightmares followed. Layan dreamed of a jinn with black eyes, standing at her door, whispering her name. Each morning, she woke feeling watched. The house grew darker. Doors opened on their own. Crying echoed from the walls. Mirrors reflected faces that were not theirs. Only Layan could see the shadows clearly. One night she told her mother, "He lives with us. He says this is his house." A sheikh was called. During the recitation, the lights went out, the walls shook, and screams rose from the basement. Inside, they found strange symbols, old bones, and dried blood. The truth was clear. The house was not abandoned. It was inhabited. Part 2. The Shadow Follows. That night, Lion saw him fully. Not a shadow. A tall creature with a twisted face and burning eyes. "You will never leave me," it said, "even if you move." They fled the house the next morning and moved into a crowded neighborhood. But the shadow followed. On the first night, Lion saw it again. Words appeared on the mirror. "The house is not the walls. The house is you." Lion grew quiet. She screamed in her sleep. She said the jinn walked beside her. The sheikh returned and said, "This is not attached to the house. It is attached to the child." Lion began drawing the same name again and again. Azur one night. During a power outage, laughter echoed from the ceiling. Lion spoke in a broken, ancient language. At the mirror, a deep voice said, "This body was promised to me." The sheikh revealed the truth. Decades ago, a sorcerer made a pact with a powerful jinn named Azur. The price was cruel: 1 child from every generation. The pact had slept until Lion entered the abandoned house. "He doesn't want her body yet," the sheikh said. "He wants her to inherit him." Part 3. The pact. Lion began to scream. The glass cracked. She rose into the air as shadows circled her. Azur spoke in his true voice, like breaking bones. "It is time for me to be reborn." Salem held his daughter and recited with all his strength. Amina cried and prayed. Lion suddenly screamed in her real voice, "Dad, don't leave me." The circle shattered. The shadow exploded. Azur vanished. At dawn, Lion woke up, weak, but herself again. The family left everything behind. They moved to another city. They changed their names. Years passed. Lion grew into a young woman. One quiet night, she stood before a mirror. She stared and smiled a smile that was not hers. A small shadow moved in the corner. A familiar voice whispered, "The pact is never broken, only postponed." "I know," Lion whispered. Part 4. The Heiress. 5 years passed. Lion tried to live a normal life. University, friends, distance from the past. But the shadows had not left. They had learned patience. Some nights, she felt someone sitting on her bed. No shape, just heavy air. When she stared into mirrors, her reflection lagged just a second. The dreams returned. Azar no longer appeared as a monster, only a shadow watching. One night he said calmly, "I no longer need to hurt you. You will open the door yourself." At an old library, Layan found a nameless manuscript. Inside it was written, "Azar. What cannot be broken is inherited." The truth became clear. The house had never been the prison. It was only a vessel, and now the pact lived inside her. The voice spoke from her mind. "I am not outside you anymore. I live in your fear." Every moment of anger gave her strength she did not ask for. One day, she shouted at someone, and the lights went out. The shadow smiled. That night, her reflection spoke. "You are tired of running." "I am not yours," Layan said. The reflection smiled. "You are not mine. You are me." The light went out. When it returned, Layan stood calm. No fear. Soon, the city began to change. People saw shadows. Children heard voices. Old houses opened again. There was no single abandoned house anymore. In the final scene, Layan walked through a crowded street. No one felt the cold around her. She stopped before a glass window. Her reflection stared back. This time, the shadow stood beside her. They spoke with one voice. "The pact is complete." She smiled. Because some houses are never abandoned. The Abandoned House. Part 5. The Awakening. The pact was complete, but completion was not the end. It was the beginning. Layan began to notice changes she could no longer ignore. Not around her, inside her. She could feel emotions before they were spoken. Fear had a taste. Anger had a sound. At night, she no longer dreamed. She remembered. Memories that were not hers. Old houses, candles burning in circles, children crying in languages long forgotten. Azar no longer whispered. He spoke as a thought. "You see now," he said. "This world has always been full of doors." Layan resisted. She tried to hold on to what remained of herself, but every time someone near her felt despair, the shadows grew clearer. People began to change around her. A neighbor complained of voices at night. A child down the street refused to sleep alone. An old man swore his house was breathing. And wherever Layan went, the shadows followed. One evening, she stood alone in her apartment, lights off. The windows reflected the city behind her. In the glass, she did not see one shadow anymore. She saw many. Azar spoke again, calm and certain. "You are not my prison. You are my passage." Suddenly, Layan understood the truth that had been hidden from her since childhood. There was never meant to be one abandoned house. Every fear-filled home, every silent room, every place where pain was ignored. They were all waiting for someone who could open them, waiting for her. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "So this is what I am." The shadows leaned closer. Azur answered gently, "You are the air and the key." Outside, the city lights flickered. Somewhere a door opened by itself, and in the distance a child screamed for the first time. Layan closed her eyes. She did not smile. She did not scream. She stepped forward into the darkness, not as a victim, but as the one who would never leave. The abandoned